This is the MMA Brief Podcast, recapping the world of mixed martial arts every single week, with your host, Brandon Johansson.
Welcome to the MMA Brief, back recapping the fights from last night's episode of The Ultimate Fighter, and some breaking news as well. Last night's episode featured Tim Elliott versus Charlie Alaniz. Earlier in the episode, Charlie got gangster in the training room and threatened to knock out one of his training partners on Team Cejudo. At the end of the training session, Henry Cejudo said, do you have a problem with Kai? And Charlie just got all gangsters like, I'll knock every single one of you guys out. You guys don't know me. You don't know me, man. I'll knock everybody out. I'm a crazy person. So just kind of like, okay, this guy, I didn't really like this guy anyway. So I was rooting for Tim Elliott from the beginning because I knew about him from his first UFC stint. He was in the UFC, got cut by the UFC, went on to win the Titan Fighting Championship flyweight title, a promotion out of Florida. Made a lot of noise, got into the tournament, got picked first overall by Joseph Benavidez. And before the fight started, there was some bickering in the house. Last week's loser, Matt Rizzo, got caught in that triangle choke by Matt Schnell, talking some crap. He got drunk. Jamie Alvarez didn't like some of the things he said and told Matt Schnell what Matt Rizzo was saying. Then it became a disagreement between Jamie Alvarez and Matt Rizzo. And the tension building up now seems like they're likely to fight each other on the Ultimate Fighter finale eventually. Not really sure. It was pretty awesome. Got in each other's faces, even pushed off a little bit. Other fighters jumped in. But that always happens almost every season where someone loses the fight and then realizes, fuck it, I'm just going to get hammered. And then starts the fight with someone like, you want to go, man? You want to go? Most famous example was a few years ago. The pink mohawk guy named Julian. It's a great YouTube video. You should check it out. It's like, you want to bang, bro? He gets really drunk after losing his fight and just tries to fight everybody. Move on to the actual fight between Charlie Alaniz and Tim Elliott. Charlie Alaniz got an incredible pace, throwing heavy leather. Tim Elliott getting hit with some shots, but he's got a great chin. Really unorthodox, so he's hard to get a beat on. You don't know where he's going to be. Tim Elliott ended up weathering the storm, so to speak, and catching a bulldog choke, which is actually pretty rare in MMA. And that's just your typical high school headlock, essentially. Just a bully headlock. The choke invoked the tap, and Tim Elliott moves on. Now we move on to the quarterfinals. So the first 8 fights are down in the Ultimate Fighter Season 24. 8 finishes. I believe that's an Ultimate Fighter record. Incredible start to the season, and the fights are just going to get tougher. One matchup I'm particularly looking at is this week's winner, Tim Elliott versus Matt Schnell, last week's winner. I think those are 2 of the best in the tournament right now. So that's very well could be an Ultimate Fighter finale right there. That fight, those guys are good enough to beat another guy and get into the finals, but they're going to fight next. And there's also other good matchups. But we're going to move on. UFC Fight Night 97 in Manila was canceled. That would have been this Saturday. The guy who was in the main event, Ricardo Lamas, has found himself another fight at UFC Fight Night 98 in Mexico. And he'll be fighting Charles Oliveira. Oliveira coming off a loss, guillotine submission loss to Anthony Showtime Pettis in Pettis' featherweight debut. Charles Oliveira, always a tough out, though. And Ricardo Lamas coming off of a decision loss to Max Holloway. So both fighters coming off a loss, both fighters trying to stay relevant in that 145-pound top 10. Ronda Rousey, it's official, will fight Amanda Nunes on December 30th at UFC 207 for the women's bantamweight title. A lot of controversy from that decision. A lot of fighters aren't happy that Ronda's getting the title shot coming off of the loss. What will be more than a year ago. But interesting to note, even though she's coming off a loss, she's right now a 3-1 odd Vegas favorite over Amanda Nunes, the current champion. Paige VanZant, the Dancing with the Stars alum, will be fighting Michelle, the Karate Hottie Waterson, in Sacramento on UFC Fox 22, December 17th. So that'll be about a week and a half before Ronda Rousey fights Amanda Nunes for that 135-pound title. Michelle Waterson and Paige VanZant are going to square off in a strawweight main event. Also on that card is Dana White looking for a fighter Mickey Gall, the man everyone knows who beat up the WWE wrestler CM Punk in his UFC debut. First, Dana White looking for a fighter Super Sage Northcutt, another fighter that Dana White found on the regional circuit. So that card has some interesting fights right out the gate. Only 2 confirmed fights. Both of them are interesting. Greg Hardy, former Carolina Panthers and Dallas Cowboys defensive end, says he's making the transition to become a mixed martial arts fighter. He's got a checkered past with domestic violence and recently was arrested for possession of cocaine in Texas. Fox Sports analyst Jay Glazer urges all mixed martial arts gyms to refuse to train Greg Hardy. He said pick a different sport. Doesn't want Greg Hardy coming in. I personally think that Greg Hardy, he can't step in there today and beat the top heavyweights, but with some good training, he's got the physical attributes to become a good fighter. Say what you will about his past. With fighters, we tend to look past their past. As long as they can produce in the octagon or in the cage or wherever they are in the ring. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Greg Hardy trying to make his MMA debut. Ronda Rousey making her return. Ricardo Lamas getting a fight. Another great episode of The Ultimate Fighter, Season 24. Can't ask for much more. We'll see you next week recapping the fights.
MMA brief, bitch.